Welcome to Crochet 101. For more information about this series and all other videos in this series, you can check out the Crochet 101 playlist in my profile. In the meantime, let's get to today's lesson. And this is going to be kind of our setup lesson. We'll call this like Crochet 100, where we chat through the basic tools that you're going to need for these lessons. And I do mean these are the basic tools that you need. There's a lot of things that are nice to have when you're crocheting, but that you don't need to get started. And actually, I recommend you don't invest in a ton of extra tools and extra things until you learn what kind of crocheting you like to do, and quite frankly, if you even like crocheting. You might find out that crocheting is not the hobby for you, and this way you haven't invested like 50, $100 in something that you may not super be into. So let's get started with what tools. And I promise in a later video, I will chat through the like what is nice to have to make your crocheting experience a little bit easier, a little bit better. So first, let's start with hooks. So for all of these lessons, I'm going to recommend you have a 5mm hook. I think this is a good size for being able to see your stitches. For the yarn we're going to be using, you can size down your hook, but it's going to be a little bit harder to see those stitches. So I recommend a 5mm until you figure out what kind of hooks you like to use and what kind of crocheting you like to do. You don't need to buy like a huge beginner pack. I do recommend though that you buy one with an ergonomic handle. The straight metal handle ones are fine for beginners, but you are going to feel a huge difference in your hands if you have a crochet hook with a proper handle. I love these boy hooks, B-O-Y-E. This used to say 5mm, but I've used it enough that that's kind of gone away. So get yourself a 5mm hook. Here's another example of a 5mm hook that I own. This is the Prim brand, very nice as well. I just like these boy hooks a little bit more for me and my style. Another thing you need to crochet, you need yarn. I recommend when you first start off, you just need one kind of yarn in one color. Get yourself what I call some real yarny yarn. You're gonna get some value acrylic yarn, and it's going to be a size 4. If you look on the label here, almost all yarns, especially commercial yarns that you buy, are gonna have these notes on it. This one tells you what size knitting needles are ideal with it. This one says what size crochet hook. You see it says 5mm. That's the size hook I told you to get. And it also says here that it is a size 4 yarn. This is Big Twist. This is Joann's house brand. Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, they all have house brands and then assorted other brands. Don't break the bank on it, but get one that feels nice in your hand, but don't feel like you have to buy some premium yarn. This is just going to be for practicing in your initial projects for it. I promise you, you are going to buy more yarn in your life than you care to admit. But just because you're a crocheter does not mean you have to be a yarn collector. Buy yarn with purpose. Another tip for buying your yarn, buy it in a color that you enjoy, but I do not recommend white and I do not recommend black or like really dark blue because it's a lot harder to see your stitches, and you are going to be able to need to see your stitches when you first start out. Many seasoned crocheters still have problems using black yarn because it's hard to see your stitches in that. So get kind of a medium color like this purple one here. You are going to need a pair of scissors. If you do not have a pair of scissors around your house, go and get one. Also a larger needle like this one. You can see this is not a thin needle for thread. This is one that you would use for thread. This is one that you would use for yarn. And this one you will use for weaving in ends, sewing things closed, things like that. A needle is very important to have. Another thing as a beginner that I highly, highly recommend, I would say is almost a must need, are stitch markers. Now, I have this cute little thing of heart-shaped stitch markers from, I believe this is the Big Twist brand. If you do not feel like you can invest in a thing of stitch markers, that's fine. You could also use, and I keep one in here, you could use a bobby pin, you could use a bread tie, you could use a safety pin. There are all sorts of things around your house. You just need something that you can close around a piece of yarn that will kind of stay there without moving. It is a stitch marker. It is supposed to mark things. And while just one bobby pin will get you through, having a few is a nice thing to have. This is what the stitch markers that I have look like. They're literally just close like that around different parts of your project. And that's all I'm going to ask you to get for these basic lessons. It should be all you need for these basic lessons. Now, there are plenty of things that are nice to have. Pillows to support you, polyfill, having something to keep your pins in. I just dropped one. Only a little embarrassing. Different sized hooks, yarn bowls. I will do another video where I cover some like nice to have things, especially as you start to like get going with crocheting. You'll probably have people in your life who like want to buy you crochet gifts. These are some things you can ask them for. But for now, that's all you need, and I will see you guys for our next lesson where we cover slip knots and chaining.